How we doing? Good.
So with
Hi, how are you? Good to see you.
Cisco losing, taking his own power away, will Ralph step up more in the fight scene?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, with Cisco not having his powers anymore, he still has his abilities, his tremendous abilities as an intellect, as a genius, boy genius, prodigy, all that stuff. But him not being in the field, you're a team member down. You're a team member down, and that creates different adjustments and different threats for Barry and the rest of Team Flash, because you need the members out there to be able to combat these threats that are coming. And that is going to change things a little bit. He will be out there more. And I think he is going to step it up more in terms of a leadership position, for sure. He's at a point now where he's ripened enough where he knows how to do this stuff. He doesn't need... I mean, Barry taught him all that stuff. Season 4, he had all that work, and then in Season 5, it's just part of it, Part of it. Say again, please? We're going to see more of a... We're going to continue the progression of into the detective aspect that we started last year and ended with, him figuring out Thawne and the dagger and all of that stuff. And we're going to continue that. And I think he's going to be a little more independent this year in that sense. Kind of, being that private eye, and we're going to finally see more of what does he do when he's doing that private eye stuff, and see how good he really is at it. And how that also forces him to grow to pursue those things. And obviously the element of, Sue Dibney is going to come in at some point this season, and that's going to change him forever.
What are the chances of Ralph getting a new costume this year?
Somebody else just asked me that, and that's something that we haven't talked about yet. We needed to get the season off the ground. It's tricky because when I look at the Ralph Dibney costumes, the orange one, I don't really see the orange one working. It's a little too walking highlighter. I love like the purple kind of mauve sort of thing. And then the other one that I love is the red one, but we've got a guy that kind of has the market cornered on red, and it's his show. You know what I mean? I love the red one. It's something that I'd love to explore at some point. But I think it's a little tricky when we've got, the Scarlet Speedster, and he's the hero, I'd love to see that suit. I think if anything happens with a different suit, it's going to be after Crisis.
I feel like the show does a really good job of balancing the detective aspects with, within budgetary reasons, like not going too crazy with the superheroic stuff around.
Yeah.
How hard do you think they're going to have, like especially with something like Crisis coming? Like, do you know if they're going to lean more on the special effects streams?
Well, I don't know. I haven't had that conversation with them yet. I really honestly don't know if they're going to involve more of the special effects in Crisis. I don't know. I actually don't know about that, too much about that. I think that becomes, more of a logistical problem than a creative problem for sure. I mean, logistics are tricky when you have, especially in crossovers and stuff like that, when you have so many people with so many powers and you need special effects for every little thing. It just becomes a tremendous amount to do, And when you've got to get these things filmed and get them out within a few weeks, those are tricky timelines to do. It's not like doing a movie where we have a year of post-production or something like that. So it becomes a bit of a challenge. I would love to see more of that. I have a tremendous amount of ideas that I've spoken with Eric Wallace about, that he's been very receptive about, of different ways to do Ralph's powers and to do Elongated Man's powers. I mean, I'm big on trying to develop a different kind of fighting style for him this year. I think there's a way for him to be very dangerous with what his powers are that I think would be really, really cool, I'd love to see that. I mean, he's got a built-in whip. He's got a built-in grapple gun. He's got all this stuff that would be really fun. And I'd love to see elements of that brought in, and we're working on that. And we're also going to see how, in terms of the way that he fights, how, now that he's this we've gotten to the detective aspect and really pumped that up, how does he use that when he's in battle, for lack of a better term, Can he use the detective skills to kind of help him fight enemies and kind of predict, and we're exploring all of that.
So you mentioned Sue's coming this season.
Sure.
Are you excited to get to play that kind of horseback? Because that's a different kind of...
I'm a little nervous, to be honest. I am excited, but I'm also I'm nervous because I feel like ever since I started on this show that all roads have been leading to that. I think with Ralph Dibney, all roads lead to Sue, right? And I never thought about it till you asked me that question, but I'm a little nervous about that. That's, I want that to be good, and I want that to be really good. And I'm excited, but boy, that's a big thing, I guess that's like when you do Joker in a Batman movie. It's like, this is a big, big thing for this character. So You want it to be amazing, to be great. And I think that's going to come down in a lot of ways to the casting and to whoever ends up playing Sue Dibney. I think is going to be a very interesting thing to see play out and see how that goes. What
She
else?
hasn't been cast yet.
No. Unless they're not telling me. Let's see if Kate Blanchett's available.
Just
I'm
in
about-
case
Yeah, okay,
it
yeah.
goes off running.
Yeah, exactly.
And again,
Guys, we got to wrap.
Thank
Sorry.
No one's. Do you watch the television show? No one's ever gone. Are they ever gone? It's a multiverse with all these Earths. They're never really gone. He said cryptically.
Is there going to be a whole crisis episode with just all the wells?
Listen, there's myriad ways to get a show canceled, and that sounds like a great one. Yeah.
Sherlock was such Sherlock. It started like it
Sherlock.
was Sherlock.
Sherlock.
Was going to be. It seemed like it was going to be just kind of a comic relief character
Uh-huh.
early on.
Yep.
How early did you guys kind of map out that character's arc, because he turned into something really fascinating?
Generally, the way it works is in the off season. Well, a larger picture of it is, which sort of leads to an answer. It's a little bit of a roundabout answer, but what do you got? You got all you got is time. So, Greg Berlanti, yes.
Yes.
Okay. So Greg Berlanti and I had done a bunch of shows together, and then it was like, okay, those shows, one lasted a season, the other one had the sword of Damocles hanging over, it lasted 3 seasons. But when we started out on the Flash, he's like, play the Reverse Flash. I'm like, yes. The idea was that he wasn't Greg Berlanti, the uber Hollywood producer. He was the guy who'd done 1 show, 2 shows, and he still retained that same humility, which is why he's one of the greatest humans to work for. And he was like, if we managed to do 1 season of Flash, how great that would be. I can have it on my desk as a calling card. I've done this. And when we finished that first season, which largely, if you've watched it, was Flash versus Reverse Flash, Barry has a chance to change the most egregious things that ever happened, and doesn't. And then we were like, okay, that's it. I'm done. And then he was like, but what if we could? And then all those other wells fashion. And the genesis of those was, what are we missing? And Grant's so winning. Candace is so winning. Danielle's so winning. Carlos is so winning. I was like, what if we had a daily asshole? Because they really are. And it's like, what if we had like conflict in the cortex? It's just a guy who's like no social graces, a bit of a dick, which became a line. And then ultimately you think, because of what's transpired with Harrison Wells season 1, Reverse Flash, you think he's going to be a villain, and he's not. And that was Harry. And then we're like, oh, we're on to something. And season 2 was dark, and I was like, we could use a little more comedy, and that was HR. In the back of my head, I always thought, what would be nice, though, if there was more of a tangential through line that connected to the story we were trying to tell that season. And HR didn't really, we didn't completely do it that way. And so last year with Sherlock, it was like the idea of Sherlock, a master detective, which will be funny because he'll have this pomposity, but also he'll actually be good at what he does, tracking down the Reverse Flash. Like tracking down me was like, oh, and it fits with the story. It's not indulgent. That was a delight to play. That's a long roundabout answer, but yeah.
How did it feel going back to sort of the beginning again and being the Reverse Flash after a couple of years being other
Well,
wells?
almost every year, if you look closely, almost every year, that yellow suit's coming on, And so, that's the largest shadow that the characters I play cast. That's the reason that I'm on the show. And so, if there wasn't, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't that opportunity in the offing, knowing that I was going to put that suit on. The fact that I know that that's always coming, that that the Joker's got to show up for Batman, and Luthor's got to show up for Superman, and Reverse Flash has to show up for Flash. And the fact that that's always there adds something really delicious to playing the other characters. Because you're kind of like, tick, 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 tick. This is great. And then pretty soon, this guy's going to show up again.
Will you be directing again this year?
Yeah, there's always seems like, yeah. I mean, yeah. It's always, that's always a thing. Yeah. I mean, what was interesting is, just because we know each other a little well, like doing the 100th was a delight, and they give you a lot to do the 100th. You know, you're allowed a lot of leeway, and you have a. I should probably just say they give you a lot to do the 100th, and so.
That way, there's no
I just want to make sure that when I'm doing it, that I'm getting a chance to accomplish the same sort of things that we're allowed to accomplish with the 100. That's all. That's cryptic too. I'm just leave it there. You guys don't get to have all the info. You don't need all the info. It's a delight to direct the show. I will say that. I love doing it. I love working with these guys. Grant's always like, "Yeah, it's my favorite 2 weeks of the year." You know, we have a report that if you could see as Flash fans, it's like, you know, it's all because we're like older, younger brother, but it's a lot of like, that was unbelievably bad. Do that again. And then he does it like, that was unbelievably good. That kind of thing. Like he's, you know, Grant and all of the cast, like if you've been to set and you've talked to them a number of times, you know that not every cast is going to sit at your table and get along and genuinely like each other. You know, like that's a rarity in television, and maybe they don't understand how rare it is. But I remember talking to Mike Farrell, the actor that did MASH, the television show. We did a television show together, and he once said, I asked him, what was MASH like? And he's like, season 9, on the Friday, we would talk about where we were going to get together for dinner on the Saturday. He said, can you imagine that? Season 9. That's what we thought of each other. And he's like, that, you know, at the time Mike was in his 60s, he's like, that's, I know enough now, he said, to know like what a gift that was. And I think the fact that on our off days, there's the same sort of vibe with our group, like who's getting together, who's, you know, it's again, it's all fleeting, but the fact that we get to have this on a long running show is special.